and welcome. You're watching Left, Right and Centre. I'm Gargi Rawat. Stay with us as we bring you all the top news. Some breaking news also coming in. Let's take a look at the headlines at this hour. The Election Commissioner Arun Goyal has quit. His resignation comes weeks ahead of the Lok Sabha elections and just days before the elections were to be announced. He was to retire in 2027. The poll panel is now down to just one man, the Chief Election Commissioner. The BJP-TDP and Pawan Kalyan's party finally agree on an alliance for the upcoming general election. Sources say Chandrababu's party will get 17 seats, but this will all be hammered out in a further meeting. The Election Commission of India will visit Jammu and Kashmir next week to assess when polls can be held in the Union Territory and whether simultaneous polls with the general elections are possible. And a packed day for the Prime Minister today began with a safari in Kaziranga in Assam, and then a strategic tunnel in Arunachal was unveiled, a rally in Siliguri, and finally a roadshow in Varanasi. And India won the Dharamshala Test, beating England by an inning and 64 runs, and with this India won the Test series 4-1. All right, our top story in the breaking news right now. In a shock move, weeks ahead of the Lok Sabha polls, Election Commissioner Arun Goyal has resigned. His resignation has also been accepted by the President. The Election Commission of India already had one vacancy. Remember, there are always three election commissioners, the Chief Election Commissioner and then the two other election commissioners. Already there was one vacancy, and it will now be left with only the Chief Election Commissioner, Rajiv Kumar. Well, to talk more about these developments, we're joined by Nikunj Garg on the phone line. And Nikunj, what do we know at this point about the resignation? Arun Goyal was meant to retire only in 2027, and this is a very surprising announcement just weeks ahead of the general elections.
Well, indeed, surprising it is. Surprising it is. Maybe with the passage of time, maybe in a days or in the coming days, in a day or two, either Mr. Goyal clarifies about the sudden step that he has taken, or the government, puts out some reasoning as to why Mr. Goyal chose to step down. So the fact of the matter currently is that because we are in the poll season, because we are amid such hectic, all-round poll preparedness, and EC being the complete supervisor of that, EC being the complete independent third-party monitor of that under the scheme of constitution, this becomes surprising, and many may describe it as shocking as well. So we don't know, but at this point in time, when you and I speak, we only have the Gazette notification from the side of the President, from the Rashtrapati Bhavan, accepting Mr. Goyal's resignation. Now, what reasons has he forwarded to the government? If at all any reasons have been forwarded, we are certainly not privy to at this point in time. And maybe once we get to know those reasons, this doesn't appear to be so sudden or so shocking. However, in the past, as I said, that newspapers today itself are detailing out the situations where in the past less than full strength of the Election Commission. Remember, the strength of the Election Commission has undergone change at various points in time in history. Less than the full strength of the Election Commission has conducted the entire passage of the general election. So at that point in time, they were discussing one vacancy. This vacancy came out in the form of Mr. Pandey retiring last month from the poll body. And that happened only in the latter part of the latter part of the last month. Now, suddenly, you have a situation where Mr. Rajiv Kumar, former member of the IAS, like Mr. Pandey and like Mr. Goyal, who has resigned today, is now left only at the helm of the affairs, supervising the entire poll process. Now, whether it continues or whether government will be quickly able to call the meeting of the poll panel. Even at this point in time, Gargi, you and I are not even privy to the fact that whether government has actually called that meeting. Because remember, LOP now, for the amended CEC Emoluments and Appointments Act that the government got passed in the last session of the Parliament, is a member of that poll panel. So we are not sure whether LOP Ajit would be able to make for that meeting. Because remember, hectic campaigning is now on for the Lok Sabha polls. So the fact remains that
Right, Nikunj. So whoever will get appointed now, this will be the first appointment post this new law, which where the election commissions are appointed by a majority vote of the Prime Minister and one of the government ministers.
Absolutely, absolutely. It will be the first appointment. LOP would also be for the first time party to it, because remember earlier it was completely government prerogative, which got changed, and Supreme Court also got LOP included, the Act included the LOP, and therefore now it will be for the first time that the leader of opposition would be member, and therefore, as I said, it is yet to be seen whether quickly that meeting can be called, quickly these appointments can be made, or Mr. Rajiv Kumar is the sole person going ahead and conducting the general elections 2024. So, I mean, sudden developments for sure. I will stop short of calling them dramatic, but sudden developments for sure. And in coming days, as far as the independent constitutional monitor of the general elections are concerned, the Election Commission of India, that space would be interesting to watch out for.
All right, Nikunj, thanks so much for joining us. With that, already some reactions are coming in. Trinamool Congress's Saket Gokhale also putting a post out saying this is very, very concerning, coming just ahead of elections. And moving on to more news on the Election Commission. In fact, the Election Commission is going to be visiting Jammu and Kashmir next week from Monday to Wednesday to assess when polls can be held in the Union Territory and whether simultaneous elections are possible along with the general elections. Remember, the date for the Lok Sabha elections are likely now to be revealed immediately after the Election Commission team will return. And the Commission's visit to Jammu and Kashmir comes after the Supreme Court had directed it to hold the elections in the Union Territory by September. So now this assessment will be done. Well, let's go across to Sunil Prabhu now for more. And Sunil, dramatic developments on the Election Commission front. But before that, the news was that the team is going to be going next week to assess the situation in Jammu and Kashmir.
That's right, Gargi. In fact, even Election Commission officials are completely surprised at the developments. This is really dramatic. This is, in fact, shocking, to say the least, because as you're well aware, Mr. Arun Goyal was appointed as the Election Commissioner on the same day he resigned as an IS officer. In fact, that was one of the criticisms when, the full Supreme Court bench was hearing this entire matter. And on that day itself, they said, how can Mr. Arun Goyal resign and then be appointed as the Election Commissioner all in 24 hours? But having said that, the Election Commission is expected now, and I'm really, we'll have to wait and see whether the Chief Election Commissioner will go ahead with this visit 11th to the 13th. That is the schedule that they have. Hopefully they will keep it going, because there have been instances where the last, of course, was the TN session time, when the government attempted to club his will and brought in MS Gill and then GVG Krishnamurthy. Mr. Mittal will go ahead with the plan and then, finish it off on the 13th, and then hopefully the country will know on the 14th or 15th when elections will be announced. Of course, they have also got a top security briefing. Some were saying that Mr. Goyal's health was not well for the last 2 days, but everybody is completely surprised. So we'll have to wait and watch and see whether they go ahead with the J&K visit, which is scheduled from the 11th to the 13th. And then, of course, the date for announcement of elections for from the 14th to the 15th. So a lot of points that will take place. Just to, inform our viewers, the process for appointment of the Chief Election Commissioner or Election Commissioners was earlier completely with the government. Then a 5-judge Supreme Court bench decided that it should be the Chief Justice of India, the Prime Minister, and the leader of the single largest party in opposition, or the leader of opposition, whichever it is available. That has now been replicated with an amendment in Parliament to allow the the election commissioners to be appointed by a panel of the Prime Minister, the Home Minister, as well as, of course, a Minister of the Prime Minister, any cabinet minister, and the leader of the single largest party, replacing the Chief Justice of India. These developments come also in the backdrop of a full constitutional bench, which will hear on Monday morning the 5, very, very important aspects of the electoral bonds case. There is a contempt petition, and there is a request from the State Bank of India to postpone. Technically, on the 13th of March, the Election Commission was to publicize that entire list. So these are dramatic developments. The world is watching. This is a large democratic exercise India's largest election, and really on the anvil, Mr. Arun Goel, career officer, has been the DDA Vice Chairman, Secretary to Government of India, a tough man, and now deciding to resign. We'll have to wait for that official reason to be given, but definitely everybody's wondering about this surprise decision.
That's right, and already reactions coming from the opposition, Trinamool Congress calling it very, very concerning. Thanks so much, Sunil, for joining us with those details. Well, let's now discuss about the Election Commission team that is to visit Jammu and Kashmir next week. That was the big focus on the show today, though, of course, now these dramatic developments have overtaken the news, and as Sunil was saying, we'll have to wait and see whether the team indeed goes to Jammu and Kashmir next week. But before that, the Prime Minister has had a packed day today. Remember, he's been in Kaziranga this morning. He was in Arunachal Pradesh, then West Bengal, and now in Varanasi, where he held a road show, and he's doing a puja currently in the temple there in Varanasi along with the UP Chief Minister. This is in the Kashi Vishwanath temple in Varanasi. The Prime Minister there doing prayers to wrap up this very packed day that he has had. As we said, it started with a safari in Kaziranga and Assam, where the Prime Minister saw rhinos, and then there was the inauguration of the tunnel in Arunachal Pradesh, a very key and strategic tunnel in Arunachal Pradesh, and later a rally took place in West Bengal's Siliguri, where the Prime Minister had hit out at the Trinamool Congress in the state, and again hit out at the opposition over their Parivarvad comments. Then in the evening, he arrived in Varanasi, where again he has a packed day tomorrow. There was a road show in this earlier, and this is the Prime Minister's constituency, and now conducting or attending a puja there in Kashi Vishwanath temple, along with the Chief Minister of UP, Yogi Adityanath, there sitting behind him.